Heading into the Year 3 Split 1 Playoffs London LAN, much of the attention towards the EMEA region was in regards to top teams Aurora and Fire Beavers, as well as other top players from rosters such as Alliance and KCP being denied access to visas in order to compete. Because of this, many of the EMEA competitors flew under the radar, especially when only 4 of the 10 teams managed to qualify for winner's bracket, and only 3 of those managed to make it through to the finals on Sunday. But the rising stars of Europe would not be overlooked for long, as Acend would make the world know their name.
I'm going right.
We have to kill them. I'm gonna EMP them, guys.
You have really good space on me.
Bye on me, crash!
Keep on it, Maggie.
Rape flash.
The crash!
Counting one.
I'm gonna heal.
I think it's solo.
Last team.
It's solo.
I'm healing.
Solo guys.
I'm going left.
Crack. Kill that mother.
P1.
That's good.
Oh, guys.
They're playing on the fight. I do.
Horizon flash!
Guys, go backwards.
Shoot the Horizon! Got the Horizon! Need to reload! Showing up here! There's a guy here!
Guys. They're all cracked up.
The guy on me! Nice!
Inside.
He's low.
I'm dead.
GG's.
Sending out the bracelet through the windowsill into the line of sight of Guild. The 1v1 comes in and Geyser already with the information, gets the EMP. They're going to fully send it out to Guild. No time as Acend clean that up as an easy win for them.
Acend placed 10th in the group stage, 2nd in winner's bracket, and 3rd overall in the finals, but this success on the global stage has been fairly new for them. Geyser and Acend had managed to secure plenty of top placements in EMEA, but when the regions converged, they lacked the same success. But after the 2022 champs, Acend went through a roster shift that may have changed everything. Before Split 1 began, Acend added Polish controller player Lufka to be their 3rd, and a month later brought on Null to be their coach. Sometimes you have success with a roster, but need a few tweaks to take yourself to the next level, and these 2 changes might have been the driving force behind taking Acend from just a regional powerhouse to a global one. And so today, we will explore what Acend did in London to capture the attention of Apex fans from around the world, as well as the small things that prevented them from capturing the Split 1 championship trophy. Welcome back to this episode of The Reset, where we will be covering Acend, but first, only 17% of my viewers are subscribed, so if you enjoy ALGS content, click that subscribe button and like the video to help out with the algorithm. So as previously stated, Acend has been a European powerhouse for quite some time. Back in early 2022, only a month after being signed, they managed to capture a 5th place finish in the 2022 Split 2 EMEA Pro League. But more recently, in Year 3's Split 1 for EMEA, they managed to finish 2nd overall. Although globally, that success was not translating, with a 37th place finish at the 2022 Split 2 Playoffs LAN and a 20th place finish at the 2022 Championship LAN. With the stark contrast between their regional and global performances, they knew they needed a change, which leads to the previously mentioned additions of Lufka and Null. Fast forward to the Split 1 Playoffs London LAN, and we're already seeing improved results in the group stage, managing to finish 10th overall. But before we jump into specific gameplay from the winner's bracket, let's dive into the foundation for Acend's approach. First up, on both maps, they play a early rotation zone playstyle and run a legend composition of Geyser on Crypto, Post-Kill on Watson, and Lufka on Valkyrie. Crypto, before the class changes, was able to gather beacon information to reveal the next circle, and because you can do this from afar using his drone, it should speed up rotations. Also, his drone allows for the team to scout forward without putting themselves directly in harm's way. His ultimate EMP could be used to aggressively push other teams after use, farm up Evo shield damage, and even has some defensive capability, as a well-timed EMP could throw off a team's timing on their own push towards you. Watson allows for the team to lock down a building and provide a constant source of shield healing, which should speed up the rotation as they don't need to spend as much time grabbing shields as some other teams might. And then of course, as always, Vaut gives you the ability to use her ultimate to cover far distances very quickly. On World's Edge, they land at Geyser, and this is a rather interesting choice because many view the landing spot as one of the worst spots on the map. Geyser does not have the best loot, and the rotation options are rather difficult because in order to move around the east side of the map, they have very limited choke points to move move through, and a lack of priority essentially anywhere that isn't directly next to them. And to get to the west side of the map is going to be a struggle, but more on that later. On Storm Point, Acend lands at the no-name location known as Bean. This POI is rather interesting because what makes it so good is the fact that they have access to an armory, but Acend actually rarely uses it. When the circle is convenient for Acend, aka anywhere on the map that isn't the north side, they will forego doing the armory and instead use their circle knowledge and trident that spawns near them to move for positioning quickly. But when the circle does end up shifting north, specifically to the northeast side where it's incredibly difficult for most of the map to rotate into since you are fighting against the terrain, Acend will adapt their style and complete the armory to play a pseudo-edge playstyle in the early game until they can Valcult into positioning. This is a great adjustment for Acend because realistically, the biggest weakness many of the Storm Point POIs have is a lack of priority to the northeast side. Rotating uphill is going to be difficult, especially as many of the best teams understand this terrain struggle and will have already claimed POIs such as the wall or lightning rod. So in short, if Acend has favorable zones on Storm Point, they move early and take advantage of the easy rotations from the POI. And if they don't have a favorable zone and understand they can't get Godspot anyway, they'll take their time and attempt to get as much loot as possible, then play slowly until they find a time to strike for a spot that they can lock down. But now let's compare their performances on the two maps. Due to so many people declaring how difficult it is to play from Geyser, I wanted to see if there was any correlation in Ascend's results, so I calculated a few averages across the two maps of their LAN performance. First off, in the group stage, they averaged lower placement, less placement points in KP, and less total points on World's Edge compared to Storm Point, and this trend continues in both winners and finals. So on average, across the entire LAN, Acend averaged about 3 higher placements and 2 more placement and KP points per game on Storm Point. But what is really interesting here is their consistency. Across 16 games on Storm Point, Acend managed to place inside the top 5 7 times, and they only finished inside the bottom 5 twice. But across 16 games on World's Edge, while they did manage to get inside the top 5 6 times, they also finished inside the bottom 5 7 times. These numbers highlight not only a weakness for Acend overall on World's Edge, but to me directly relate to the fact that they land at Geyser. As shown, they perform relatively average on World's Edge, but even then, the overall numbers are a tad inflated. When we take a look at the circles during their best performances on World's Edge, you notice a trend that they are usually in the bottom right corner of the map, meaning they don't have to rotate very far and won't get punished nearly as hard for landing at Geyser. But when the circle pulls away from them, that's when we see those 7 bottom 5 finishes come into play as they get caught out during rotation and die. Part of this can be attributed to legend composition, making mistakes on fighting, etc., but as shown, they don't have the same issue on Storm Point. So I would suggest to anyone on Acend that the next step in their evolution needs to be securing a better landing location on World's Edge. Something as simple as that may have even been the difference maker for them in the finals. In their first 3 games on World's Edge in the finals, they only managed to contribute a total of 7 points towards their match point eligibility. Most of their points came from Storm Point or Game 6 on World's Edge, but that was a favorable zone. In Battle Royales, RNG is always going to be a factor, but securing a better landing spot can be something that can help eliminate the effects of it significantly. So now, let's jump into some of the specific gameplay examples that detail what made Acend so good and the areas that they lacked in when it came to closing it out on match point. Let's begin in the winners bracket, game number 1 on World's Edge. This game is one of the games where they managed to pop off for a 2nd place finish. The circle is going to end at Dome, so they have very limited rotation that needs to occur. With about 15 seconds left until the circle begins to close, they have already begun to make their way up towards Lava City. They also do have beacon information, so they know that the circle is going to be pulling towards Dome. We can see that the only teams that will beat them towards Dome will be LG, who landed at Launch Site, TSM, who lands at Lava Siphon, North Eption, who lands at Lava City, and Pulverex, who lands at Tree. During rotation, I'm a big fan of both Lufka's comms to suggest ideas of where to play, and then the follow-up response by Kashera to explain his thought process to the team.
You want to play the van on the left?
The van on the left? No, I want to go deeper. We need to go inside Dome. But we need to go van maybe early, yeah. Early we go van. I'm just gonna open this bin.
The reason I really liked those comms is that when an IGL has the time to explain his thought process to his team, it allows for them to understand him and his approach even further. This can build further chemistry, ensures the team is all on the same page, and can overall help his teammates trust his decision making and calls in the future. As they approach Lava City, they become aware of the positioning of North Eption and LG.
I don't have outlook, 15%.
How much time?
15%.
Are they just holding us or what? We need to run up.
There's a team with charge rifle on your back.
But
On
we
top.
need to. How much for the ulti, Lufka?
8.
We wait, I guess. No?
Yeah, but the charge rifle team is gonna destroy us.
They took the balloon left side. So we're good.
Can we send it? Can we Valkyrie?
2%.
Valkyrie up, Lufka. Here.
I'm going to
Fast,
strike
fast,
them
fast,
here.
fast, fast.
Go. Go right side, Lufka.
So their plan to take the truck doesn't work, but they manage to secure the rock outside of Dome. NRG then starts flying in, and both Postkill and Kashera say this.
Team on the balloon. Be careful if they stand onto us.
Play on top, Lufka.
Lufka, play on the roof.
Falconher Jetpack is one of the best characters in the game at being able to create off angles and take space. When showing presence, Valk's ability to grab height is incredibly important, and Acend is locked in to ensure that this happens. Kashera finds a building that is free for them to take, and his mind instantly switches to what the team needs to do to safely reach the building.
It's on my side. Guys, if we need, just nade the right side. The right side door, okay? Just focus, just put pressure on this door.
One of them's right here.
They're trying.
But I have a drone there,
Are you guys
Burn the door, burn the door. Just put
But-
light and shit. Q.
I killed, move,
If we need to fight this side, we fight.
I'm dead, guys. If you guys don't help me.
Fuck! Post!
I got them.
Just come inside, Go to the corner.
They do have some complications, but eventually manage to start setting up in their building, and Kashera starts bringing the heat to his teammates to get them locked in.
Bring a Phoenix.
Someone is standing. From the back, someone is standing, close. They don't have EMP, so we're fine. Just set up. Post communication post.
Yeah.
Wake the fuck up! We need to go together and you need to state that you need help, not when you're already dead. Set up, let's go.
Kashera then starts explaining to the team ahead of time the possibility that pressure could surround them.
I'm gonna have my ult in 15. But like
Yeah.
I don't wanna instantly put it because you have crypto around.
Yeah, all good. Guys. The zone is gonna finish probably in front of Lufka, okay?
Okay.
If it's this zone, we might have a lot of pressure around us. Like teams playing under the building, teams playing right behind us. We need to play as a unit, okay? We need to be a fucking unit. We need to put pressure on the teams, but you cannot tunnel vision, okay? Because as soon as we're killing one team, the second team is gonna come inside and it's gonna try to kill us, okay?
Yeah.
Fully awareness post. Your job, keep the setup alive, okay?
Yeah.
Keep the setup alive. Don't lose the focus on that. If there's pieces missing on the setup, you need to call us and you need cover. Don't do it alone, okay? You don't need to do it alone.
Okay.
Even if it's just me with my drone just watching around, okay? That's enough. That's enough. And let's make a fucking good game.
The building that they are in is rather large and difficult to effectively hold, so he does a great job of explaining to the team what they need to do, and the possibility his theory becomes reality. And throughout this time that they are waiting in the building, Kashera is going to repeatedly use his crypto EMP on the team in the truck. He's doing this because based on his prediction of where the zone will pull, he knows that this team is going to be the immediate threat for pushing towards them. When he crypto ults, he wastes their heals even further to help give them a possible advantage if a push does happen.
I'm gonna start TMPing this team, maybe? No, I'm not. I should, but I don't
No,
think
let's
it's
try
worth it.
this door. Fuck.
I'm gonna EMP, I'm gonna start draining their meds. It's a caustic team.
And later, when they grab the next circle, Kashera sees where it's pulling, and he calls out which buildings are in zone.
I don't. You have what, post?
I have Spitfire vault.
Guys, look, listen to me. Green zone. The beacon building is still
Let's
fine.
relocate here.
The building in front is still fine. We just need to worry about the van
I see
team,
an
okay?
enemy over there.
That's
Okay.
our only team that has to move, okay?
They're gonna move for the rocks. highly
Yeah, they
probable.
will probably go left, but still, if they move towards us, we have to be ready to
I
hold
think
this
you can
push,
EMP
okay?
someone, then you're gonna have time. Then you're gonna have EMP on the next
Yeah,
round.
I will, 100%.
So we
But did
can-
you understand this? I'm still
Yes.
gonna EMP the van team, like, I'm still gonna EMP this guy.
못 받겠지.
He did this because the teams who are still in zone would have zero incentive to sacrifice their positioning in order to int their building. So making his team aware of the immediate threat as well as easing their concerns regarding certain angles should help them stay prepared for what will come. Later, after the circle continues to close, we get another comm from Kashera about where the immediate attention needs to be and how to respond if they land near them.
We're still good in the zone.
Beacon
Okay,
building is
guys,
also fine.
forget about this side, okay? Unless the team ball close, forget about this side. Focus on the van side and the back side. But more on the van side, okay?
And some northeast.
Yeah. Northeast.
I'm looking north.
Or northeast, or if a team ball cools towards under our building, okay? You have nades?
No,
No.
0 nades.
Guys. If a team ball cools towards under our building, yeah, play aggressive, but be careful because every other building in this fucking position has angles on you if you pick outside, okay? So don't just tunnel vision trying to kill the team on bottom and not getting knocked by the team on the next building. Understood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick on angles that you know that are dead, that no one has angles, okay? That's it.
Yeah.
Full focus, boys. Let's go.
But as we approach the final circle, we get some really interesting comms here.
Guys, let's try to take some picks from the zone, like 1 or 2, okay?
I don't have medkit though.
And just try to play safe.
Keeping an
Me
eye on this
neither.
location.
Lufka, you play on your own, okay, in this zone.
Alright.
Okay?
Alright.
He basically just told the team it's time to get loose and he will try to play safe for placement. Giving Lufka the green light to start slaying is a pretty cool move, and I haven't seen most teams that allow this kind of free reign for their controller player, but it goes to show the trust that Kashera has in his teammates. As the ring starts closing, Lufka starts taking over some of the comms in regards to fights.
30 plus!
I know I have bullets.
There's Zen! Look at the top! Look at the top!
I know I
Look
have
at the
bullets.
top!
I have bullets.
Okay, I need to heal.
Behind that bin! We need to send left!
Guys, just play time, boys, just play time. Okay?
Can you swing left all together?
I need to go alone,
Swing left with me! Swing left with me! Drop one! Swing, swap!
I died. Fuck it, stop.
Alright, dive.
On your back, solo.
Don't take the zone, don't take the zone, don't take...
Nice job. Let's fucking go.
Let's go!
Well played. Let's fucking go.
So Acend grabs second place and 5 kills. In that game, Kashera was on fire in regards to information gathering and prioritizing where his team needed to hold to prevent losing their building. Then the natural handoff from Kashera to Lufka for the endgame fighting was really cool to see. Many teams do something like this, but I've never heard an IGL specifically state Lufka play on your own, and then allowing the space for Lufka to dictate the moves in the fight so seamlessly. But the next 2 games on World's Edge don't go nearly as well, so we're going to cover how they died to show the issue with playing out of Geyser. In Game 2, the circle is pulling towards Climatizer, and Acend is leaving Geyser about 15 seconds slower than the previous game, but even hypothetically if they had that 15 seconds back, the issue still remains. While last game at Dome, there were maybe a handful of teams who had priority over them, in this circle, Fnatic, who lands at Climatizer, Dark Zero, who lands at Epicenter, Moist and E36, who landed at Fragment, J-Links, who lands at Overlook, and 100 Thieves, who lands at Skyhook East, all have priority over them. Add in TSM, The Guard, and NRG, who all rotate about the same time as Acend, and you realize that even a location such as Climatizer is difficult for them to approach without getting a mediocre spot. And getting there a bit late is okay, but remember, at Geyser, they have poor loot, so they won't be rolling up triple purple armors with tons of attachments and heals.
Just talk.
Let's go there.
Go.
They landed somewhere there.
I don't see anyone there. Can we check that side? Maybe the van? Can we play van early?
I think it's kind of risky, but you wanna go for it?
Yeah, go here. If there's a team inside, we try to force. It's okay, there's a team. Fuck. No, okay, that.
Now, they pull off a good Valkyrie, but they do get a tagged Re for the spot and die for it. And the death itself was just a poor decision, which they acknowledged immediately after dying, but overall, the disadvantages of Geyser could be felt. In Game 3, we get a really interesting circle that is rather difficult to read, and we see another issue with Geyser. Acend does not have beacon scan information this game. In a now deleted tweet, Dark Zero's coach PvP shared a graph showing the POI imbalance on World's Edge in regards to beacon scans. He did not attach the POI names to the tweet, most likely to prevent other teams from gathering free information, but I can confidently say, based on cross-referencing this with other sources and my own experience, that Geyser's spawn rate is sitting in this bottom group. In Apex, being able to predict zones is definitely a skill that many pros have, but even then they can get this wrong. And obviously, it's a lot easier to correctly predict the circle when you have as much knowledge as possible. So now that we've discussed the difficulties surrounding the World's Edge POI and rotations, let's jump into their last game from Winners Bracket, Game 6 on Stormpoint, where they managed to secure a massive first place 9-kill win that vaulted them into second place overall on the day. Acend lands at their usual bean location and gets some solid loot, including 2 purple shields. They have beacon information that they pull from Cenote and grab the trident to rotate early. His team asks what the plan is and even believes that the circle might pull towards Antenna, but Kashera is a wealth of zone knowledge.
Where do we go?
I didn't see the zone yet.
It's Antenna. This one.
No, it's not.
Not?
No, it's ship fall. Oh. We shall try to go ship fall from the back and see, like, we land on the top of ship fall, okay? Pretty standard what we're gonna do.
He correctly predicts that the circle will pull towards the shipfall side, so they move quickly to secure that position. They bide their time until they can find an open building and make their move using Valkyrie to get into position. As we get deeper into the game, we see another great example of Kashera explaining how to respond to a specific hypothetical scenario of a team getting near them.
Boys. If there's a team outside of our building, we don't need to instantly send like, if it's not this team on the rock, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, this team on the rock will help us if the team, like, we just have to keep them outside of the building, okay?
Yeah.
And don't give angles to other buildings, okay? Don't give angles on this door, don't give angles on this door. Wait for them to come to us, okay? They have to come to us, okay?
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah.
Go. In these high-level lobbies, angles are everything. Angles that may be a weakness for Acend when it comes to peeking will actually help them if another team decides to push, and they can utilize the surrounding teams to their benefit. Kashera in this game is basically acting as a full-time UAV, and as the circle closes, we get a really cool moment where Lufka asks Kashera what they need to focus on. Kashera just starts rattling off comms and information of the surrounding teams, and Lufka capitalizes instantly.
Wait, just play passive, okay? There's like 2 teams fighting here. Maybe angles here on my ping. Lufka.
No,
okay,
no.
hold. Full team here on my left. I knocked one. Full team here on my left. Full team here, outside of the wall.
Here, focus these guys.
Right here.
Post. It's 2 teams. We have a full team on my left side.
Okay.
They're gonna fight each other, I think.
Let them.
We third party these. I think
Yeah,
we third party
we need.
There's a guy on the fence.
We just third party from the left.
Fuck,
From the left, from Lufka's side.
I killed one.
I killed another. Don't grab him.
They stand him.
Kill us here. He's dead.
He's dead fast.
Lufka, res me.
I'm rising. I have no bullets.
One of you go back to the building. Lufka, go back to the building. Loot a bit and go back. Loot a bit.
Even as he is being revived, Kashera is aware of their space and knows how important showing presence to prevent them from being stuck on this fence line is, so he sends Lufka back to the building. Lufka stays disciplined here and maintains that presence until he's given the green light to start looting.
Go loot. Can I go loot?
If you want to switch, I'll give you the flat.
I'm going to loot.
Come loot.
You want the flat line, Cash?
No, I'm gonna play wingman. Wingman PK. Guys, wait. We want to play outside here. Come to me, post. Come to me. Can we swing out together?
Agent right here.
Okay, me.
They're watching us.
We don't need to do anything. We can
We
just
have to go there.
Enemy agent right here.
Go now, they are getting MP'd.
I'm killing.
Notice post kills instant setup to punish any team that tries to climb their fence line.
Shoot! There's a guy on the roof. Careful.
Do you have ultimate accelerator, Cash?
I have. Take.
Don't pick the roof. We don't need to do it.
I'm popping here. I'm gonna pop one here right here, guys.
Just make sure they don't have angle on it.
No, no. Let me pop, guys. Let me pop.
Cash, move.
Fuck it. They're throwing.
Cash, you gonna have EMP for this fight?
Guys, we have to send it inside. We have to send it inside. Go inside. Climb and go inside. Set up post on the stairs. Set up the stairs.
Fuck it. I waited outside.
One down. Play safe. Play safe. Play safe. He's out.
I'm popping a bot. I can. I need to go outside. I'm going outside. Come with me. Come in.
Yeah.
I'm popping a bot.
We need to go inside. Just play side. Play side, Lufka.
But then, as we approach the final fight, watch for the perfect transition to the late game comms. Geyser once again takes the back seat and allows for Lufka to comm the way they approach the fight. But Lufka is not tunnel visioned like some fraggers might be.
Shoot this win. Shoot this win. Shoot the one shot.
On top. On top. On
Play
top.
together. Cash kill.
I'm healing. Play on us, Lufka, post. Play on us, post.
On top.
Play on us, post.
It's only one.
It's two teams.
It's last guy.
It's only one.
Let's go.
He calls for them to stay together and for Geyser to heal. All the while, once again, post-kill is silently setting up great fences to control space. And with that, we head into the finals with Acend starting off with 9 total points due to their second place finish in the winners bracket. Through 5 games in the finals, Acend have started off slowly, only picking up a total of 22 points across them. Following Game 5, both NRG and TSM are sitting on match point, with Xset, Onyx, and Alliance all sitting less than 10 points away. Acend's opportunity to strike was closing fast, and so on Game 6 on World's Edge, they got blessed by the circle and took advantage of it big time. They end up rotating a bit slower than usual, with half the lobby already making their way towards tree. They did this intentionally, as Geyser states that he worries that playing closer to the middle of the tree where teams will be packed in early will be a grief fest. So they get near the outskirts of tree in the truck. This is once again expert knowledge of how to play around a specific circle, as not only does it pull directly towards them, but the buildings down below are a grief fest indeed. Eventually Geyser, as he always does, spots a fight taking place and calls for his teammates to capitalize.
Guys, just be mobile, okay? Be ready to move if I see an opportunity to third or to make a move, okay?
Yeah.
They went middle 3.
Horizon white shield.
They're playing under this building. You might have angles under them.
No, be
Getting
careful.
destroyed. Yeah, they're getting destroyed, guys.
Killed one.
Killed one. Post, play passive.
And notice that right after they got the 2 knocks, Lufka calls for post-kill to play passive. This is just another example of Lufka understanding the overall macro of the team and realizing that although they have 2 knocked, there is no reason to get aggro here in their current situation. But then a fight breaks out behind them and they third party with ease.
Oh! Someone kill him.
Res me, folks.
What? Sizing. Go
Go to the building, folks. Lufka.
Can I get bullets?
Just try to loot fast, folks.
And we see yet another example of the post-fight res taking place where one player returns to show presence while the other 2 reset and loot. Acend is now loaded up on loot and has Godspot to go with it, so they begin to press their advantage and pick off multiple members of Moist for their troubles.
I destroyed the ulti.
I tried Watson.
There's one more.
Can you get angles?
Kill them.
They're low. One is low on the outside, my side.
I'm just gonna watch the back.
He's
Watch the
landing,
net, Skynet. I got fucked almost.
And notice what post-kill says here.
Gosh, you're alone. Lufka, be careful.
This is small, but throughout this video, during high-pressure moments such as these, we have heard all 3 members of Acend make calls to each other such as this. This awareness by all 3 of them of each other's positioning, health, and immediate danger is next level. And with only a few solos remaining, Acend cleans up the lobby.
Can we get angles on me, guys?
Okay. You're alone, Gosh.
I got the kills. There's one team in between you and me. What? Low. We have height. Just hold the height.
Loba.
Baba here in the middle. No. Okay, so let's go for the kills. It's two solos. Let's go, caralho! Vamos, caralho! fucking go, caralho!
So now, after match 6, Acend has become the 3rd team in the lobby to hit match point eligibility. With a win, they can finally end things, and luckily for them, we are heading to Storm Point, the map that they are far more consistent on. In Game 7, they get 10th place, but TSM and NRG also fail to close it out. The only major change is that Acend has now reached match point as well. So with 4 teams sitting on match point, we head into the final game, game number 8. And remember all the way back at the beginning of the video when I said this, but when the circle does end up shifting north, specifically to the northeast side where it's incredibly difficult for most of the map to rotate into since you are fighting against the terrain, Acend will adapt their style and complete the armory to play a pseudo-edge playstyle in the early game until they can Valkyrie into positioning. Well, take a look at Circle, and here are Acend's comms referencing this very thing.
We do
I
AMC?
think we need to get stuck. Yeah, I think we need to get stuck this game.
Let's do the MC together then. Let me see if there's a good gun on this house.
Like, we can always, like, maybe. Oh, that's not light.
Heavy ammo here. Extended light mag here. Level 2.
I need a backpack.
There's a lot of bots here. Like, I'm gonna pick this shit and I'm gonna give you
No
guys.
sniper ammo, right?
No, that's
Oh,
all.
with AMC probably I will get one.
Yeah, you just farm the
Let's just AMC.
farm the bots.
Guys, this is the type of game that we have to be creative. Like, we know the zone, it's gonna be a Thunderwatch or maybe like the eggshell on top.
조심하자.
So they complete the armory, manage to get all 3 players on purple, and they are stacked on loot. Once they finished it, we peek back over at the map and look at how far out they are. They're sitting out on the deep edge from Circle next to ESA, who are a hard edge team that uses Seer, Horizon, and Valk. So like Kashera said earlier, they are certainly being creative this game. They eventually rotate into the top of Command Center, with the idea being that they can Valk ult from height and cover quite a bit of distance to get into whatever spot Kashera can identify with the drone. But now here's the crazy part. Many who watched the finals will probably remember the now infamous spot that Acend was holding that eventually found them in the final fight with TSM. But here are their comms when that spot becomes a possibility.
I don't know where to pop my ult here. I'm just gonna pop it here. Fuck it. Between this shit.
Close.
Yeah.
Aren't we able to play on those hogs,
Yeah.
like,
Let's go over there.
Yeah,
in
you
front
are.
of Zero? Like, did any of you already play there or what?
No, but it's
Never played
playable.
that.
Can we just send it?
No, I don't think.
Why not?
I don't think it's good now.
It is, like, I'm just not sure if, like, if a team comes from the top,
We have an enemy.
if it's good, but I'm pretty sure we can play there in between those hogs.
They've never even played that spot together. The balls on this man Kashera to say, let's just send it in a match point scenario. That is the sound of a confident man. He isn't overwhelmed by the pressure, and he certainly isn't shutting down or ruling out any possibilities due to fear. Instead, he has the guts to play a spot that he has limited experience with and his teammates have never played. So they send it.
Go right side now.
It's right here.
Holy fuck, it was me. It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody focus crypto. Go there. It's there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, they hit me as well.
Here on.
I might die, guys. Yeah, I might die though.
And it is not looking good early. Kashera gets knocked, then Lufka goes down, and Kashera gets knocked again. But post-kill stays resilient. Kashera dies, but ensures his team remains calm above all else and starts planning for the revive. They manage to bring Kashera back, but then Lufka goes down and dies, and Kashera gets knocked again. Shout out to post-kill at this point for somehow masterfully playing his life, because this has been an ugly hold. But they have crypto, and a respawn beacon is nearby, so Kashera brings back Lufka. And somehow he returns back to their spot, and with the circle closing, the teams on height are finally forced off of it so they can stabilize and breathe. As the circle closes, we see a small moment here that was crazy to watch, but when TSM moves towards the top of the building, Acend almost manages to grief their game and knock a very weak reps. Had they done this and forced TSM to stick a res, the timing of their eventual Valk ult might have been thrown off entirely, and who knows what could have happened. But they unfortunately didn't have the angles, so we keep it moving. But wait, we have another super unfortunate timing moment that happened. Lufka gets knocked, and right as he does, Kashera pulls out the crypto ult EMP to deter any push. As he's moving this drone towards the building, we can spot TSM's Valk ult going off. If that EMP had arrived a second earlier, TSM's Valk ult gets cancelled entirely. It's actually kind of mind-blowing to me how Acend and TSM have inadvertently had two close calls that almost changed the fate of TSM entirely. But once again, it didn't happen, so we continue to move. While TSM is on the other side of the map clearing out Alliance and LG, Acend starts to clear out their side. And in the middle of fighting, absolute madman swap from post-kill here. I repeat, these guys have nerves of steel. And finally, we reach the crucial moment. Acend versus TSM. Winner takes all.
Look at the vanguard, it's 1v, okay. 3v3.
I don't have bullets in nothing. Bullets in nothing.
Guys, give us time, okay?
I don't have bullets. No
Of
bullets.
what? Of
no
what?
shit.
Of what?
Energy.
You can take that box, go to the box, full post.
I can go. It's safe. I'm going
know.
now.
Let's go, just be ready to fight, okay?
Left charge.
They're spamming everything on me.
Lufka, can we maybe aggressive move? Me and you.
Geyser.
Do you
Okay,
have
wait,
EMP?
20%,
Crack the Valk
wait.
almost. Crack the Valk almost.
Wait for my EMP, guys, 20%.
Okay, I'm gonna... Let me pop a bat.
I stunned all of them.
You needed that for the stand.
I hit the beat.
And any nades.
Guys, 10% I need, fuck.
Okay.
Lufka, can you move on me? How much
Where?
are your Q? How much are your Q? We
15
push
seconds. Wait 15 seconds, please.
I don't think we have enough time.
Guys, I'm gonna move close.
I'm
Move to me,
covering.
Lufka, move to me.
I can't. They secure me.
I destroy the Ryzen.
I'm pushing pocket. Focus on Ryzen. I died. Nice job. You still have to use your MP and push. Together. Who was it? Yes, time.
Good game.
Of our Apex champions.
You can tell that although they had certainly made peace with losing earlier in the game, coming that close and failing to close it out hurts a lot. I know that Acend may not feel as good as they should, considering that they had a chance to win everything, but wow, what an amazing performance from these guys. But before we finish, let's discuss this 3v3 fight specifically. From the beginning, let's be clear on two things. Number one, Acend is at a disadvantage in legend composition. In a straight up 3v3 fight at the highest level, Seer, Horizon, and Valk has far too much offensive capability for a crypto Valk Watson comp to handle. And number two, Acend is at a positional disadvantage. TSM has effectively taken space and now holds both the high ground and dead center of the circle, which means that Acend has to come to them with no way of effectively closing that space quickly. And Acend knows this, as Kashera stated as much in his tweet following the event. Also note, they don't have any grenades, so they don't have any projectiles to help close that space. Now, on the play that they pulled specifically, many are claiming that Acend needed to wait to push once Kashera got his crypto ult, but I'm not sure that this was at all possible. TSM is at an advantageous position where they can honestly tank the crypto ult and light up Acend the moment they try to push out from the rocks. Will TSM be at a possible health disadvantage? Yes, but they are at height and they could play head glitches and shred Acend to make it even again before Acend could even challenge their height effectively. And this is all assuming that Kashera can get the ult off in time. It's entirely possible that TSM manages to shoot the drone as there is little to cover to work with for it to go off. So let's talk about the play at hand. Kashera pushes up the middle here as TSM is distracted by Lufka and post-kill on the outside. Kashera calls for the push up the middle, but this is where the timing of things comes into play. Kashera asks Lufka to push up with him up the middle, but first he calmed simply, "Move to me."
I'm gonna move close.
I'm
Move to me,
covering.
move to me.
In this high pressure moment, it seems that post-kill thought that he was to push here as well, so he jumps from behind his crate over to the rock that Kashera and Lufka were holding. As he does this, he gets seer scanned, meaning that they know exactly where he is. And he is cracked. So post-kill is essentially doomed once he leaves his crate, because now he can't hold an off angle while the attention is diverted towards Kashera. Also, Lufka and Kashera's spacing is a bit off here. If Lufka and Kashera somehow find a way to double swing Hal, then they 100% get the knock, in large part due to Lufka being a controller player and being able to effectively dominate at close range. But once those two things failed to happen, this fight was a GG. And although they didn't win it, this should only provide a deeper fire for them to continue on their current path to success, to being regarded as one of the best teams in the world. Big announcement, I now have memberships available on the channel. If you are on my channel or any of my videos, you can see this big join button. That's how you become a member. It's only $5 a month. If you truly love the channel and the videos that I'm putting out and you want to help support me financially, that's probably the best way that you can right now. That said, I do have a full-time job and I am not struggling whatsoever financially, so please do not feel pressured to sub in any way. But if you do subscribe and become a channel member, what will you get? Well, number one, after every video, I'm going to shout out all of the members' names. Also, you will get this sick icon next to your name. And finally, I'll be tossing some behind the scenes updates your guys' way. You'll be the first to know what videos I'm planning on working on next. You'll get some sneak peeks of my process, including some stuff that gets cut out of videos, as well as access to some spreadsheets and notes docs that I use in my VOD review for all these teams. Overall, I figured that this would be a creative way to connect with you guys, and if anyone feels gracious enough to support, I would appreciate it a ton. I love you all. Also, live streamed ALGS watch party soon.